up, wake up. It's time to start the day. Wake up, wake up. It's going to be a great day today. You've had your time to sleep and rest. Now wake on up and do your best. Wake up, wake up. It's time to start the day. Wake up, wake up. It's going to be a great day today. It's time to rise and shine. The sun is shining bright. Wake up, wake up. It's time to start the day. Wake up, wake up. It's going to be a great day today. You've had your time to sleep and rest. Now wake on up and do your best. Wake up, wake up. It's time to start the day. Vámonos. Wake up, wake up. It's going to be a great day today. It's time to rise and shine. The sun is shining bright. You're feeling good after sleeping all night.
When you have a problem with that, you know what you should do? You should sanction me. Sanction me with your army. Oh, wait a minute. You don't have an army. I guess that means you need to shut up. That's what I do if I don't have no army. I would shut up. Shut up. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Wherever this video finds you, welcome to Text. I know I'm late if those are going to catch this live. Normally I'm on at 9 o'clock Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but I had to go to the doctor. I couldn't understand why I've been sick for like 2 weeks now, and yeah, I got walking pneumonia. I'll be all right. Modern medicine means you don't die from it. Since the 1840s. At any rate, yeah, I'll be fine. So I hope y'all like my intros. I put very low effort work into them. So at any rate, so I wait for people to come in. Let me get this out on this channel right here. Because as you guys know, if you don't know, I'm a huge Browns fan. Or, well, not that huge. Not like I used to be. Anyway, they fired Kevin Stefanski. Of course, you could tell that he was ready to leave the Browns the day that they traded Joe Flacco without telling him to the Bengals. And after that, he was just barely coaching the team. There was no accountability on the team. People tried to say that, of course, the whole situation with the spoiled Nepo baby who tries real hard to imitate his father, but doesn't even have just has a fourth of his talent, maybe. Trying to say there was racism and he was trying to sabotage him and all of this garbage, but it's like, clearly you've never watched the Browns. Like, I mean, they say the Browns is the Browns for a reason, but outside of that, talking with people today concerning that on my sports side, I just put it to him like this. Name one bona fide coach that's going to go into Cleveland and coach a 5th round pick that plays like a 5th round pick with that albatross of Deshaun Watson, who was a shell of himself. I mean, just mentally and psychologically destroyed Deshaun Watson, coming off of 2 Achilles heel tears on his plant leg, and a rebuilt throwing shoulder, who, when he came back before he tore his Achilles, looked even worse than what he did before he got hurt and before he had the surgery. And you can't cut him, because then that's $180 million towards your cap. That's just in one season, because the owner was stupid enough to give him a guaranteed contract. So therefore, you are stuck with Deshaun Watson for 2 years and hampered by his contract. What bona fide head coach is going to walk into that where you need 2 tackles, a right and a left? You might need a left guard. No telling what Bitonio is going to do. He'll probably retire. You have nothing to hang your hat on but the defense. So clearly, I mean, you have these draft picks, but until you get Deshaun Watson's contract off your books, you're pretty much hamstrung. And this is why Andrew Berry, the GM, said that they're not looking to be competitive until 2029 when that stadium opens, because then you'll be free of that contract. So what head coach are you going to get that's going to come in for 2 years to be a lame duck and then be fired at the end of the 2028 season, and then you start over with somebody fresh? What bona fide coach is going to do that? At any rate, let's get on to this. That's my question. Who's going to do it? So, excuse me. Let's get on to why we're here. So our good friends at China Observer produced a host of videos concerning the fallout of Maduro being captured. Based on the titles, it's not good. And China Observer, they've been a very credible source. So you'll watch these just like I watch these, fresh in virginal eyes and ears. Let's go.
U.S. has captured Venezuelan dictator Nicolas Maduro. He will now be tried in the U.S. for drug trafficking. Now, people are focusing on the significant aftermath of the event. Many observers are looking at the longtime supporter of Maduro, or rather his financial backer, the Chinese Communist Party. Regarding Maduro's arrest, the Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs issued a statement on the evening of January 3rd, expressing deep shock and strong condemnation. The next day, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs demanded his immediate release. On the same day, Chinese state media Xinhua published an article condemning the U.S., calling it blatant hegemonic behavior. The Chinese Communist Party is particularly nervous, not because of the loss of an old political friend, but also due to economic interests. China is losing a cheap source of oil, and more importantly, the $100 billion China lent to Venezuela may go down the drain. Chinese netizens on Weibo have raised concerns about Venezuela's debt to China. One Chinese blogger pointed out that the U.S. has always been willing to use force to protect its commercial interests. American companies are willing to invest globally because they know the U.S. will back them up. If they don't get paid, they'll face sanctions. On the other hand, if a country can't ensure its company's investments abroad, those investments are likely to fail. If borrowers aren't held accountable for not repaying, how would the lenders view this? Over time, most will stop paying back, knowing there will be no consequences. In online discussion, many Chinese observers have mocked the Chinese Communist Party. Australian Chinese scholar Li Jun posted on X, stating that China has lent over $100 billion to Venezuela, making up more than 40% of China's total lending to Latin America. What should China's patriotic supporters do if the new Venezuelan government refuses to acknowledge this debt? Independent commentator Xiang Yang also joked, saying, "President Xi, your ironclad friend, your all-weather strategic partner Maduro and his wife are now on a U.S. military plane, being flown back to the U.S. Just a reminder, you've lent over $100 billion to Venezuela, accounting for more than 40% of China's total loans to Latin America." On September 13, 2023, China and Venezuela elevated the relationship to an all-weather strategic partnership. After a meeting in Beijing's Great Hall of the People, President Maduro invited Xi Jinping to visit Venezuela, calling it an everlasting invitation. In May 2025, during a meeting in Moscow, Xi described the relationship between the two countries as an ironclad friendship forged from a strategic and long-term perspective. For nearly 2 decades, China has been Venezuela's most important external economic partner. In 2007, during President Chavez's time, Venezuela borrowed more than $60 billion from Beijing in exchange for oil. This oil for loan deal made China Venezuela's largest creditor, ensuring stable discounted oil supplies to China, even as US and European sanctions tightened. During Maduro's presidency, starting in 2013, oil prices dropped from $100 per barrel to $40 the following year, revealing Venezuela's excessive fiscal deficits and dependence on imports. The government continued to prioritize debt repayment at the cost of the people's livelihoods. Venezuela announced a debt restructuring in November 2017, and agencies like S&P declared a selective default. Since then, the Venezuelan government has not published comprehensive debt data, and debt restructuring negotiations have been hampered by US sanctions. In August 2020, Beijing agreed to extend the grace period for $19 billion of its loans, but neither China nor Venezuela has confirmed whether this grace period had ended. Currently, Venezuela's unpaid debt remains uncertain, but mainstream estimates place its external debt between $150 and $170 billion US dollars, including around $60 billion in defaulted bonds.
What are you doing? What were you doing with the drug and the oil money? What were you doing with this stuff? And all of the other natural resources? I mean, I say this, the lady is going that kind of fast. She's running through her talking points. But at us as the U.S., let me show you something. Us as the U.S., Venezuela is just this close. You know, you got the Mexico, whatever, coaster, all this Colombia, Ecuador, Brazil, all of these countries right at our back door. My whole thing is, as United States, if you weren't led by such a dictatorish, colonialist regime, I know, I'm sick, leave me alone, plus this tea is hot. You should have been down here in South America developing all of this. Mexico, Costa Rica, you should have been developing South America. South America is right in your backyard. If you would have came down here and do what Trump is doing right now, you saw he's ended 8 wars without firing a single bullet. Well, except for Iran, but they deserved it. And now Venezuela, we took out their ruthless drug lord scumbag dictator who was in bed with our enemies, Iran, China, and Russia, sitting right here at our feet. You had to take this territory over. Colombia is probably going to be next, as is Mexico. Nobody's worried about Costa Rica. Nobody's worried about Ecuador. But it would be good to secure all of this. What it would take to secure all of this in your hemisphere, your southern hemisphere, because nobody should be able to invade the southern hemisphere, because it should be up under U.S. control. Flat out. You make yourselves vulnerable when you don't have control of all your territories, especially sitting right up under you. This should be up under U.S. control. We should be in there with the digger machines and everything and doing what Russia was doing with BRICS, where they went in, they said, hey, look, whatever debt you owe us, we're going to wipe out the debt and then we'll come in, we'll do a 50-50 split of the resources. Meanwhile, we'll help you build your society, sort of like how England did with Africa. We'll come in, we'll help you build up your societies, build your cities, your roads, your infrastructure, everything. And we'll stay here. We'll stay. You're taking over. Yeah, because you can't govern yourselves. If you could govern yourselves, we wouldn't have an immigration problem. From South America. Right? But the trade-off is we'll civilize you. North America and South America united as one. You be our little brothers. All the riches that's sitting in South America, there are more riches in South America than there are in Africa. Supposedly. And you're just letting it sit there and fester. But it takes a shrewd mind, a keen businessman to say, you know what? Instead of going in being colonialists, we'll go in, we'll do profit sharing. We'll develop your countries. Isn't that how they got the Congo to calm down? Rwanda? Isn't that how you ended well, I wouldn't even call that a war between Israel and Hamas? Like, we'll rebuild Gaza. Like, we're not going to let Israel take over Gaza. We'll rebuild it. You'll just work there. But do understand it'll be up under U.S. control. But at least you'll have U.S. protection from Israel. It's just that you have to stop firing rockets into their stuff. You've lost that land. Give it up. We're never going to give it back. You people were living in mud huts and stuff. You were living in abject poverty before the slow and steady hostile took over in 1945, 48. You were Sharia law Muslims. The goats were scared. The goats were scared. The children were hiding. Let me stop. I'm being racist. But I'm just saying, I mean, it's very stupid that for all these decades, we just let all of this territory just go untouched by us, underdeveloped. And now, because of Russia and China and Iran, with their deals, their illegal drug deals and oil deals and whatnot with Venezuela, we had to take them out. Anyway, let's get back to the video. I'm sorry if I sound dry.
In November 2023, Voice of America reported that a study released by the William and Mary's Aid Data Research Lab found that between 2000 and 2021, China provided $1.34 trillion in grants and loans to 165 low and middle income countries. This spans over 20,000 projects. Russia received nearly $170 billion in development loans from China, with a debt total of nearly $130 billion to Beijing, amounting to 7.3% of its GDP. Venezuela is China's second largest recipient of credit and aid. Over the past 20 years, China has invested nearly $113 billion in the country. However, the aid data report does not specify the total debt owed by Venezuela. Venezuela's oil for loan model has special reasons. The country holds the world's largest proven oil reserves, and China is the world's largest oil importer, also being Venezuela's largest buyer of crude oil, although Venezuelan oil only accounts for about 4% of China's total oil imports. Since 2019, when the U.S. tightened sanctions on Venezuela, China National Petroleum Corporation stopped importing Venezuelan crude directly. Official Chinese customs data has since reported zero crude oil imports from Venezuela. Several tanker tracking agencies confirmed that from September or October 2019, China's official crude oil import records showed no imports from Venezuela. However, the reality is that China continues to import large amounts of Venezuelan crude through unofficial channels. The main methods include ship-to-ship transfers through intermediaries in places like Malaysia, where the oil is relabeled as Malaysian crude or asphalt blend.
Now, why would they do that? Why would you need to do this under the table? I mean, do understand the United States told China one of the deals concerning the tariffs was that China had to stop sending the markers, the chemical markers that made fentanyl. They had to stop shipping that stuff into the United States. So China said, okay, fine. And said, okay, fine. So then they started shipping the stuff to Iran. And it was through Iran that they were sending the markers, the chemicals, to Venezuela, to where they went ahead and manufactured the drug. And I mean, we saw what happened to those boats. Why would you have to be sneaky about some oil? Shouldn't it be above board? They shouldn't even be in your territory, U.S., but still, why are you being sneaky?
Shadow fleets and intermediary companies are used to evade tracking. Some crude is disguised as originating from other sources like Brazil or Iran. In August 2022, Reuters reported that according to 3 sources and tanker tracking data, after Washington imposed tighter...
Now that would be doing too much. Mad that Trump picks up China's president too. Then we would get into it with Russia, and then we would definitely have World War III if that happened. That would, because Russia is China's muscle. So yeah, but sounds great. Works in theory, but we'll be glowing in the dark by the end of the year.
Sanctions on South American exporters, China National Petroleum Corporation, CNPC, had stopped transporting Venezuelan oil in August 2019. However, the company repackaged this oil through traders, labeling it as Malaysian crude for shipment to China. Sources also said that since November 2020, China Aerospace Corporation has been using 3 oil tankers purchased by CNPC's listed subsidiary to transport Venezuelan oil. The oil is stored in a storage facility acquired by CNPC. According to Icon data, these 3 supertankers, Xingye, Yongle, and Qianyang, had their transponders activated while loading in Venezuela, allowing third parties to track them. These shipments, declared to Chinese customs as crude oil, did not specify their origin. These operations were strictly authorized by the Chinese government, with China Aerospace Corporation being designated to transport oil as payment for Venezuela's Belt and Road debt.
Their Belt and Road debt? Okay. Now, do understand. I know, like I said, this chick, she's running through it, so I'm sorry, y'all, but I got to do this because I think this is why they killed my video, my last video. I think it was Saturday or Friday, Saturday, whatever. Remember when they captured the oil tankers, right? Remember when Trump captured the Venezuelan oil tankers and Maduro came out and said that he would leave Venezuela for, certain countries where he felt he would be safe? Y'all remember that? Because he knew he was in trouble. Look, it's no different than Big Worm. No different than Big Worm and Smokey. I fronted you my product. Now, where's my money? You ain't got my money? Well, then what you got in trade that's going to make up for my money that's going to make me whole? Well, I'll ship you more oil. Considering how Venezuela is where one of the main resources where China gets their oil from. United States backyard. So he wanted to get the hell up out of there because the writing was on the wall. Like, dude, a debt is now on your head. That, $50 million bounty? Yeah, it's looking real good. To, first world countries, especially China, you definitely don't want to get caught up with the Iranians. They'll cut your head off. You don't want to be sent to a Chinese prison. Russia's even worse. The United States, I mean, At least you won't be sharing a cell with 50 people with rats and roaches and have to sleep standing up. I mean, you'll still get, big tarried and shanked and all of that. But at least you'll be in a cell probably by yourself. Maybe. If you cut a big deal, maybe you'll be in a Bernie Madoff prison, though I doubt it. And luckily, this isn't the Bushes that are in office, or else they would break out the Saddam Hussein rope on you. But then again, that remains to be seen, doesn't it? So now with the United States taking over Venezuela, let's be honest, we did that. We're cutting off China's oil reserves. China's in big doo-doo. I would love to see how they're going to respond to this. And there's more on that too, because China actually has a defenses set up in Venezuela. We'll get into that.
According to tanker tracking data, between 2022 and 2025, China's actual imports of Venezuelan crude oil averaged between 300 and 700,000 barrels per day, accounting for about 4% of China's total imports. In 2024 and 2025, China will remain the largest buyer of Venezuelan crude, with its share consistently reaching 80 to 90%. Venezuela's special oil deals with China have now come to an end. On January 3rd, U.S. President Donald Trump held a press conference at Mar-a-Lago, stating that during Maduro's arrest, the U.S. would take over Venezuela until the country could transition to a safe, proper, and cautious government. Trump also clarified that U.S. oil embargoes on Venezuela remain completely effective.
All I can say is, hey, Maduro, go eat that honey bun, bruh. When you get to your cell, you see a piece of candy sitting on your pillow, go ahead. That's like turn down service. You know how they put the mint on your pillow? Yeah, go ahead. Help yourself. Take your time. Savor it. Thank you, Big Terry.
The president further expressed plans to authorize U.S. oil companies to take control of Venezuela's energy infrastructure. Trump said, "We're going to have our very large U.S. oil companies, the biggest anywhere in the world, go in, spend billions of dollars, fix the badly broken oil infrastructure, and start making money for the country."
Thank you.
Chinese blogger Yang Zhixiang stated that China accounts for 90% of Venezuela's oil exports and settles transactions in RMBs through the CIPS channel.
Not anymore.
In 2025, China bought 23 million tons of oil. Over the years, China has invested nearly $100 billion in Venezuela. Just 6 hours before Maduro's arrest, he publicly met with China's envoy and signed over 600 cooperation agreements. Previously, Trump seized the ship and oil of the Hong Kong Century. So how can Maduro's new leadership continue its dealings with China? How can they still use RMB for settlement? It seems impossible for China to rise peacefully. In this economic climate, it seems even less likely. So far, the Chinese government has not publicly commented on the debt issue, but the CCP's anxiety is evident in their exaggerated response to Maduro's capture. A user on X pointed out that the so-called oil for loans deal relied on Maduro's control over the oil fields. Now that Maduro is in U.S. custody, the oil that was supposed to go to China has likely already been repriced and divided up by Wall Street creditors. This teaches China an expensive lesson in risk control. Betting on a specific dictator is the highest risk venture. Once the leader is gone, such a strategic partnership, built on relationships rather than institutional foundations, will likely collapse. After Maduro's capture, celebrations erupted on the streets of Venezuela. People were shouting, "Thank God for the miracle," and "Thank you, America." Several videos on social media show cheering crowds in cities across Venezuela, celebrating the arrest of the dictator and the end of socialist rule after decades. Millions of people are finally free from hyperinflation, famine, and drug terrorism. In China, aside from a few patriotic netizens who echo the Chinese government's official stance, many Chinese netizens are hoping the US military will quickly capture China's dictator Xi Jinping. One netizen wrote, "The Chinese people have been waiting in line for so long that our legs are numb. US, please hurry up."
They like, can we get next? You called it. They like, US, hey. They like on the deserted island, they see the luxury liner in the distance, they wave, hey. Ching Chong, fire up the smoke, burn the logs. SOS. I'm sorry. sorry, I don't mean to be racist. I don't hate Chinese people. They know he over here.
On Douyin, there are videos of Venezuelans celebrating Maduro's capture. The comment section, with over 11,000 comments, fully supports the Venezuelan people. Some wrote, "The artificial sun is running out. When can we celebrate? Will the son of the motherland be scared by such comments?" US-based commentator Tang Jinyuan described the US military's actions as earth-shattering, stating that the Trump administration prioritized US national security, particularly geopolitical security, as a top issue. His version.
Yeah, because let's be honest, if you've got your three biggest enemies, Iran, China, and Russia, in your backyard, I mean, how hard is it for them to put a nuke in Venezuela, sneaking one in there, and then you fire one off and you destroy an American city? There won't be enough response time. It won't be enough response time. You could do a couple of them. You can tear up this whole Florida, Georgia, Texas, Louisiana, or you can just aim for Washington, D.C. You can send a cadre, just like what Iran was doing to Israel. They were like making them exhaust their Golden Dome. Yeah, you do the same thing, because we don't have a Golden Dome. We don't have an air missile defense system like that. Again, Elon threw a fit because Trump was going to add $2 million to the budget. This was before they had the estimates as far as what the tariffs would look like. Was going to add another $2 trillion to the budget. It was like, no, we need this. We have enemies within our home and outside of our gates. We have sleeper cells in our country. And our southern border countries hate us. They sent us their enemies. They sent us their sleeper cells. We're getting rid of all of them. That's what ICE is doing. ICE is not going after the local taxi driver with a fake ID just because he's foreign. No. U.S. intelligences have these people scoped out. Oh, you're not going after people. You said you're going after people with criminal records. Yeah, we are. We're also going after people who are hiding in plain sight that don't have criminal records, but they work for these scumbags. They're just waiting to get the signal. Are you people dumb or stupid? Because none of you want any of them to live with you. So please shut up and let us do our job. As much as you claim you love socialism and human rights and all of this stuff, well then go to their shithole country and live there. I'll make the deportation app available for U.S. citizens. You can go ahead. We'll give you $3,000 to fly and a first class ticket. We'll pay for the flight. You can go down there and live with them. Since you love them so badly. Oh, you don't want to go? Then shut the fuck up. Shut the up. Sorry, I'm trying not to curse this year. I don't want to hear it.
Of the Monroe Doctrine essentially combined U.S. domestic law enforcement with U.S. military actions in the international arena. On December 4, 2025, the Trump administration issued the National Security Strategy, reaffirming and enforcing the Monroe Doctrine to restore U.S. dominance in the Western Hemisphere. Tang Jinyuan said that the international community has long separated human rights from sovereignty, particularly when it comes to tyrannical regimes like Maduro's criminal government. No matter how much harm a government causes its own people, other countries have not been able to intervene, calling it an internal matter. However, President Trump...
Wait, I'm sorry. But this is probably... I wanted to show this video, but I could not show this video. Let me see.
...to restore U.S. dominance in the Western Hemisphere. Tang Junyuan said that the international community has long separated human rights from sovereignty, particularly when it comes to tyrannical regimes like Maduro's criminal government. No matter how much harm a government causes its own.
You see this right here? This scene right here? They ran these people over. This tank right here, they ran these people over. Get the hell out the way. We're not ICE. We're the military. You getting away, we take that as an act of hostile aggression, and you will be street pizza.
People, other countries have not been able to intervene, calling it an internal matter. However, President Trump broke this rule and reshaped the international order, stating that if any illegal leader of a nation commits significant crimes, the U.S., as an international police force, has the responsibility to bring them to justice. Many Chinese netizens are discussing Trump's capture of Maduro and its impact on China. Hawkish Chinese scholar Jing Canrong released a video saying that Maduro's capture would have a significant impact on China.
The U.S. controls the Western Hemisphere. First and foremost, on security, it does not allow other major powers to be involved in matters of the Western Hemisphere. This area does not have much of an impact on China since we don't have military presence there. But if the U.S. gains complete control, it might extend to economic cooperation. This could impact China because China's relationship with Latin America is mainly economic. If the US gains full control over the Western Hemisphere, these countries will have to follow us wishes. In the short term, the impact is limited, but in the long term, it could be substantial. I think this is how it will unfold.
He warned that China needs to be cautious with its investments in Latin America because the US has gained further political control over the region, thus increasing the risks for Chinese investments. In recent years, trade between China and Venezuela has expanded beyond oil. China exports machinery, electronics, automobiles, and consumer goods to Venezuela, filling the market gap left by Western companies. Beijing has also invested in telecommunications, mining, and some infrastructure projects, integrating itself deeply into Venezuela's economic survival strategy. It is clear to many that Trump's purge in South America ultimately targets the Chinese Communist Party. On January 4th, the Economic Times of India analyzed why Venezuela is so important to Beijing. Firstly, Venezuela has long been an energy hedge, helping to diversify oil supply and reduce dependence on the Middle East. Secondly, it represents a significant financial asset, with billions of dollars in unpaid loans directly tied to Venezuela's oil production. Thirdly, it serves as a symbolic foothold for China in Latin America. The article suggests that from this perspective, the Venezuelan crisis is not just about oil or regime change, but is meant to show that the U.S.'s surrounding regions are not areas where strategic rivals can easily interfere. The report argues that Trump's decision to forcibly remove Maduro is widely interpreted as a warning to China. Beijing's swift condemnation of the U.S. action highlights how targeted it feels, with its strong rhetoric reflecting concerns about China's broader strategy in Latin America. After Maduro's removal, Venezuela immediately entered a power vacuum, causing dramatic fluctuations in the energy market. Traders are weighing the risks of civil war against the potential for oil recovery. Data from the International Energy Agency has long viewed Venezuela as a wild card in global oil supply. Prior to the raid, due to U.S. sanctions on Russian and Venezuelan exports, the International Energy Agency had already revised downward its supply forecast for 2026. An unnamed Chinese scholar noted that Maduro's arrest interrupted the oil for loans mechanism between China and Venezuela, as agreements signed by Maduro could immediately become void, weakening China's leverage as the largest creditor. Under international law, sovereign debt continuity typically requires a new government to inherit and repay the previous administration's debt. China could seek repayment through diplomatic negotiations, international arbitration, or discussions with the transition authorities influenced by the U.S.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Like, you know what? Now that, let's just be honest, now that we have control of Venezuela, we'll go ahead here. How much did Maduro owe y'all? Okay, here's your debt in oil. We'll go ahead, Venezuela. Well, yeah, here. Load up the tankers, boys. Here you go. There. Now they don't owe you anything. You want to make a deal? You want to make a deal? Call Mark Rubio, the man of many hats. Mark Rubio might as well be Jamaican. That dude is he got many jobs in the White House dealing with foreign affairs. You know, it's either him or Scott Bessent, but it's Mark Rubio. Yeah, talk to Mark Rubio. You want to cut a deal? Rubio and Bessent. Talk to those two, and we'll see what we can do for you. But meanwhile, the debt is paid. We're starting at zero. Your contract with Venezuela is null and void. You now have to deal with us.
However, given that this action is seen as cutting off China's access to Venezuelan oil, the prospects for Chinese debt repayment are uncertain, and China's future investments in Venezuela could face comprehensive restrictions.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. Let's go on to the next story.
On January 3rd, the U.S.
So China's national guru slaps himself. Maduro captured, weapon defenses cleared, China helpless.
military conducted a cross-border operation to capture Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. While Venezuelans celebrated this development, the mood in China was quite different, with some expressing deep dismay. Li Yi, known as China's national strategist, was seen in a viral video, visibly distressed and ashamed, even slapping himself. Venezuela to Washington, D.C. is 3,300 kilometers away, and they still got him alive. I swear, I can't believe it. I don't even feel human anymore. Am I still living in this world? This is insane. Let's not talk about it anymore. Li Yi, a strong supporter of military unification with Taiwan, has long been outspoken in favor of using force to bring Taiwan under China's control. He frequently made exaggerated and alarming statements, such as calling for a bloodbath Taiwan and declaring that millions of deaths are no big deal. He is a typical elderly patriotic little pink. He even threatened to shoot down Nancy Pelosi's plane during her visit to Taiwan in 2022.
Wouldn't have bothered us. Wouldn't have bothered us. But you see, he's suffering from that little man syndrome. He want to lash out and kill thousands of Taiwanese because they lost their foot on Venezuela. Oh God, I see why China, the people in China want us to come over there.
Now with Maduro's capture, Li Yi appeared to lash out at the screen in frustration. A netizen sarcastically commented, "It looks like the mental health of this person has been triggered again. This is just too entertaining for the public." Even the animals are speaking the truth now. Well done, Trump. Other analysts noted that Li Yi was simply venting his frustration. They pointed out that Washington has carried out its strategy of striking threats no matter the distance, while Beijing, despite being so close to Taiwan, has only issued empty threats year after year with no real action. This, they say, makes Beijing look weak and ineffective. In his rage, Li Yi appeared to view himself as part of Beijing's elite, slapping his own face in a gesture that effectively criticized the incompetence and cowardice of the Chinese government. This amounts to a serious overstep, and Li Yi could face consequences. Li Yi likely feels frustrated with the Chinese government, but there's no denying the effectiveness of the US raid on Venezuela. Even Chinese military enthusiasts have been forced to admit its success. Military blogger Lu Bushi, in an analysis posted on Zehe, noted that during the US operation in Venezuela, American forces carried out a precision strike on the Fuerte Tiuna military base in the southern part of Caracas. This base is home to important Venezuelan military facilities. Satellite images reveal damage to specific structures, such as a command center roof, while nearby buildings, including hospitals, were left untouched.
You see the chess game here? We can reach out and touch them. Venezuela was their ability to try to reach out and touch us, and they failed. That's why he's freaking out. You have no leverage. You lost all your leverage. I mean, as far as militarily, you still have you don't have too much. China doesn't have too much leverage with the United States economically, but they are trying to get us through technology. But this is why why they had NVIDIA here in the United States. They had NVIDIA, a tech company. They built the chips and everything, the AI chips and everything. Like, look, we're not going to sell these chips to China. They're going to stay right here. We're going to fund it. And we're going to surpass them. That's the whole point. Because China doesn't have a great military. They're not really considered a military power or military threat like that. They would lose. They would lose badly. Russia is really our biggest threat as far as militarily, but it's not China. Definitely not economically, but you have a lot of Chinese people who are here in the United States who are hackers. They will hack the hell out of you. Do you understand? They caught one woman trying to flee the country with state secrets. She was at the airport. They snatched her up, getting ready to board her flight. Come on, Ling Ling, let's go. I'm serious.
This point strike approach highlighted the advanced precision of U.S. military technology. Le Bourchier explained that the U.S. completed a rapid kill chain from identifying the target to executing the strike. Prior to the raid, optical reconnaissance satellites made several passes overhead, obtaining high-resolution images. By integrating these with radar data and using low-latency communications from Starlink, U.S. forces transmitted real-time coordinates, enabling them to neutralize their target with remarkable speed and efficiency. The United States also employed stealth tactics during the operation. Reports indicate that fighter jets launched from an aircraft carrier, using advanced radar systems to acquire targets from long distances before executing a low observable attack. Satellite imagery showed no visible aircraft contrails, suggesting the use of radar evasion and electronic emission control measures. This approach rendered Venezuela's S-300 air defense system unable to detect or engage the incoming threats. In coordination of munitions, American forces deployed several types of precision-guided weapons. Small-diameter bombs targeted the command facilities, bunker-busting munitions struck hardened sites including runways, and long-range missiles neutralized air defense installations. Certain weapons incorporated network-guided systems, permitting in-flight adjustments to coordinates even as targets shifted position. The damage details include a 12-meter diameter circular destruction zone on the roof of the Ministry of Defense building, with the impact point precisely at the building's geometric center, causing damage only to the top floor command center, consistent with the characteristics of the GBU-39 small-diameter bomb. 3 craters spaced 500 meters apart in the middle section of the base's runway, effectively halting takeoff and landing operations, suspected to be caused by the GBU-28 bunker buster. And the radar antenna of the northern SA-23 air defense missile position was precisely hit, though the launcher vehicle remained undamaged, with the impact point only 3 meters away from the radar, not triggering a second explosion. This was likely due to the AGM-158C anti-radiation missile's electromagnetic pulse function blindfolding the target. Le Bourchier believes that this operation underscores the resurgence of American manufacturing and its notable advancements. From satellite reconnaissance to precision-guided munitions, the entire strike process depends heavily on sophisticated production techniques. These include semiconductors, composite materials, and advanced guidance systems. Without robust industrial strength, he argues, a nation cannot effectively conduct offensive operations, let alone maintain basic defense capabilities. He also pointed out that Trump's choice to strike Venezuela was aimed at setting an example, warning the dictators of other hostile nations like Cuba, Colombia, North Korea, and Iran. These regimes should be careful. Provoking Trump could lead to severe consequences. According to multiple international media outlets, the raid, codenamed Operation Absolute Resolve, was meticulously prepared, with months of intelligence gathering, simulation exercises, and weather waiting before being executed with precision in the early hours of January 3, 2026. At the beginning of the operation, more than 150 U.S. military aircraft took off simultaneously from over 20 bases across the Western Hemisphere. These included fighter jets, bombers, electronic warfare planes, and reconnaissance aircraft. High-altitude aircraft provided cover and suppressed Venezuela's air defense systems. Meanwhile, helicopters transporting special forces flew at low altitude, just 100 feet above the sea, to avoid radar detection on their approach to Caracas. The mission drew on coordinated efforts from all branches of the U.S. military, including the Air Force, Navy, Army, Marines, and National Guard. Electronic warfare, cyber attacks, and precision strikes rapidly disabled Venezuela's surveillance and air defense networks. This left Venezuelan forces unaware and unable to organize effective resistance. At around 1:01 a.m. local time, an elite Delta Force team arrived by helicopter at the Fuerte Tiuna military base, the site of Maduro's residence. The ground engagement was short but fierce, as U.S. troops quickly overcame the guards with overwhelming firepower.
You're not late. I just started like 50 minutes ago. You good?
One helicopter sustained damage but remained operational. Upon waking, Maduro and his wife attempted to flee to a nearby reinforced safe house. However, they were captured by special forces before they could close the door. A second helicopter landing followed, and the team quickly...
They trying to close the door, all of a sudden that big steel-toe boot, like Jehovah's Witnesses. Hey, Maduro, we'd like to talk to you about our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. You have a minute?
evacuated the couple with high-altitude aircraft providing fire cover throughout the extraction. Despite sporadic gunfire exchanges with Venezuelan forces, the operation swiftly crossed the border. By 3:29 a.m., just under 2.5 hours after the operation began, all 150 aircraft and special forces had safely returned to base. The U.S. suffered no casualties, no aircraft losses, and only a few minor injuries among its soldiers. U.S. Secretary of War Hegseth called the operation the most complex and successful special forces raid in history. This efficient, zero-casualty, multinational capture mission showcased the U.S. military's overwhelming strength in intelligence, joint operations, and precision execution.
Speaking of which, because you did bring up something, you say Cuba, Mexico, and Greenland next. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And the whole situation with Greenland is that if you look at where it's positioned, it's more closer to our hemisphere than it is to Russia. But if Russia gets a foothold in Greenland, then they not literally, but they have the upper hand on us as far as that northern hemisphere. Right now, the United States, from the very tippy top from Greenland down to the very bottom of Argentina, we need to control all of this. We need to control all these territories. Yes, from the North Pole to the South, from Santa Claus house down to who lives in the South Pole. We need to control all of that in this hemisphere. I don't know why the U.S. was so lackadaisical in doing that. It was very stupid. Luckily, you finally got a president that understands, we need to secure this nation. Resources are tight. Maduro has to work on his 40-yard dash to get out the door. You see how slow he walked? He's an old man. All that freaking cocaine and whiskey and cigars and steak meat and probably sleeping with all them girls out there in Venezuela. I mean, you live that quote-unquote king lifestyle. Have you crapping yourself in the bed and walking like you got the gout or something.
This operation may have been one of the reasons for Li Yi's emotional breakdown on his program, as he simultaneously expressed frustration while acknowledging the strength and precision of the adversary. The U.S. mission not only successfully captured Maduro, but also decisively shattered Venezuela's air defense myth. Reports indicate that during the operation at the Fuerte Tiuna military base in Caracas, Venezuela, air defense forces mounted a limited response. A soldier reportedly fired a man-portable air defense missile at a U.S. Special Operations helicopter. The missile inflicted only minor damage, and the mission proceeded without major disruption. It's noteworthy that the regime had acquired more than 5,000 such missiles, yet only one was employed, underscoring limitations in the effectiveness of the air defense network. Venezuela's primary air defense capabilities rely on a combination of Russian and Chinese technologies. Russia provided key missile systems, while China contributed advanced radar and command components, resulting in an integrated hybrid platform. Venezuela
Do you see why you had to take over that? I mean, these people are importing weapons into Venezuela. How hard is it to import nukes?
acquired not only Russia S-300 and Buk M2E missile systems, but also depended heavily on Chinese-supplied equipment. This included long-range radars, air defense command and communication networks, data integration platforms, and the presence of Chinese technical experts and training advisors.
And none of that
During the U.S. operation, however, American helicopters and fighter jets advanced deep into protected areas without facing effective targeting or interception. The information-driven air defense network, with significant Chinese components, showed no active radar response or command coordination, and the system appeared to fail rapidly. Over the years, Venezuela invested substantial resources in importing Chinese military hardware to develop what was described as South America's most advanced defense setup, centered on systems like the JY-27 anti-stealth radar. In actual engagement, these defenses proved vulnerable to U.S. electronic warfare and targeted strikes. Initial radar detections were disrupted, and ground-based assets lacking air cover became exposed. Reports noted abandoned tanks from the VN series and artillery units unable to function effectively due to disrupted data connections. Military observers point out that events reveal a notable disparity in performance between Chinese-made systems and leading adversaries such as the United States, particularly in challenging environments involving advanced electronic countermeasures and precision attacks.
This is why I laugh about, think about it for a hot second before I get into that. Maduro was sitting up here talking about some come and get me, you coward, and all this stuff, because he really thought China and Russia had his back, that they sold him some good stuff. They sold that dude a bill of goods. They sold him the stuff that you get at the bargain bin at Walmart, the big yellow sale sign on it. It's the stuff we can't get rid of sale. Here you go. Yeah, that's going for $100 million per vehicle. Yeah. That's the ticket. And these cartels, they really think they got a chance. You know that chick in Mexico, the president of Mexico, you know she's sweating. She's sweating. The president of Colombia is sweating. Brazil is like, bro, we ain't got nothing to do with this. You know? You see, Cuba's been all quiet during all of this. They've been awfully quiet. They had nothing to say.
Observers note that if a country like Venezuela, heavily reliant on Chinese military equipment and boasting the strongest air defense network in Latin America, is unable to mount even a symbolic defense against a U.S. raid, then in the event of a larger conflict, China's main concern won't be the quantity of weapons, but the complete lack of real-world survivability in its entire equipment system, command structure, and information frameworks when facing the U.S. military.
I would say the minerals are just the spoils of conquering them. Because I'm not going to say spoils of war, because do you go to war with a 2-year-old? You know, it's like, okay, yeah, I just took your candy. Took your candy and your stroller and your pacifier. Yeah, give me them socks and shoes too. Thank you.
In real modern
And I'm gonna bang your mama.
warfare, China's military systems would not withstand the true test of battle. China's support for Maduro went far beyond weapon supplies and involved comprehensive backing, leading him to misjudge the situation, ultimately resulting in his capture by the U.S. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio revealed that the U.S. had made several generous offers to Maduro, including dropping charges against him and allowing him to seek luxury exile in Turkey or Russia, even bringing significant wealth to China. However, Maduro, overly trusting in Putin and Xi Jinping's promises of security, rejected these offers and missed Trump's final ultimatum.
He was provided multiple very, very, very generous offers and chose instead to act like a wild man, chose instead to play around. And the result is what we saw tonight.
Reports suggest that Maduro was on the verge of accepting these terms, but ultimately backed out, likely encouraged by China's all-around missed Trump's.
And chose instead to act like a wild man, chose instead to play around. And the result is what we saw tonight.
Reports suggest that Maduro was on the verge of accepting these terms, but ultimately backed out, likely encouraged by China's all-round support.
I'm trying to be
Let's take a look at some of the clips on Chinese TikTok, Douyin,
Just
to
a
see
little
how
bit.
these so-called Chinese analysts back up Maduro.
美国为啥憋了这么久？
Why has the US waited so long and not dared to attack Venezuela? Why? Because China is watching their back. Haven't you seen all those Chinese warships packed in the East China Sea? This is clearly telling the US, if you attack Venezuela, I'll strike the Taiwan Strait. For the US, if they go after Venezuela, they might lose Taiwan. The consequences would be too severe for the US to bear.
Try
They're
it.
not afraid of Maduro's small army. They're afraid of fighting on both fronts at the same time. Then it's all over.
There's no front. There's no front. There's no second. Well, there's no front. It's over. It's over.
Plus, Venezuela isn't an easy target either. They've got real help from China.
Well,
If
where
they
y'all
need
at?
money, they get it. If they need resources, they get those too. This means that if the US attacks, it definitely won't go smoothly like it did in Iraq. It could turn into a second Russia, or even worse, because someone keeps giving Venezuela constant support.
We love
Maduro is really smart. He keeps saying that China's victory is our victory, tying himself to China, making the US even more hesitant to act.
waiting.
So now you get it, right? It's not that the US suddenly got soft, and it's not that Venezuela can't fight back. It's just that the timing is terrible, and the cost of taking action is too high to bear.
Oh, I just bet.
Now that Maduro has been captured by the US, one wonders how the blogger feels about this. Perhaps he should take a lesson from Li Yi. Netizens mocked. Watching this video just made me laugh out loud. Maduro must have felt so secure after seeing your video. They added, Maduro must be regretting this now. Had he known he was being fed lies, he might have stayed off of Chinese TikTok. Even more laughable is just a few days ago, Chinese media were still loudly proclaiming, facing mounting military pressure from the Trump administration, Venezuela seemed trapped in a dilemma. Compromise could mean the collapse of the regime, while resistance would be no match for the overwhelming military force.
I wouldn't. If I was China, I wouldn't. I mean, you might have a little skirmish, but the U.S. they can touch you. They can touch you from Taiwan. You can't even touch us anymore. You don't have control, and you did all that yapping, and then in the end, you had an excuse. Venezuela can go toe to toe the United States. It's just that right now, my wife need me to mow the lawn right now, and I gotta do laundry and the dishes and some vacuuming. But once we get finished doing all of that, then maybe we can schedule a time to meet up and talk and have tea and crumpets and maybe have some UN yelling matches and possibly some peace negotiations, and then we'll talk about fighting. But we'll bark at each other, but we're not really gonna. You know what I'm saying? Donald Trump was like, "Look, man, sit your little pump butts down. Come here, Maduro." And then look at sitting up there with his feet on the White House desk, with his feet up, drinking his Metamucil, waiting on the phone to ring. Xi Jinping to call. Why you do that? Why you do that to us? We need that for you.
This critical moment, the Venezuelan government turned to its old friend in the East, China. A phone call was made from Caracas to Beijing, and China's response certainly did not disappoint President Maduro. On December 17th, Foreign Minister Wang Yi spoke with Venezuelan Foreign Minister Ivan Gil. Wang clarified China's stance, reaffirming that China and Venezuela are all-weather strategic partners and expressed opposition to unilateral bullying. He also voiced support for Venezuela's sovereignty and hinted at deepening cooperation in areas like defense equipment and speaking out at the UN. The article pointed out that behind China's statement is tangible room for cooperation. Venezuela had previously purchased radar systems and anti-ship missiles from China. In the future, should Venezuela need it, China could further deepen cooperation in these areas. Additionally, China could continue to speak on Venezuela's behalf in multilateral forums like the United Nations, aiming to gain international support and apply moral pressure on the US.
Moral pressure.
The article noted that Wang Yi's statement gave Venezuela a strong posture. Shortly after the phone call with China, Venezuela's Navy launched an escort mission for its ships. If US forces attempted to intercept these ships under naval escort, it could escalate into direct military confrontation. China's support for Venezuela is driven by very practical considerations. China is Venezuela's largest oil buyer, accounting for around 90% of its total oil exports in the first half of 2025. This close energy relationship gives China special weight in this crisis. Moreover, Chinese companies have invested $1 billion since 2025 to upgrade Venezuela's oil field facilities and have promoted settling transactions in RMB to avoid US dollar sanctions.
Well, you know what? As the United States, we appreciate that. You saved us some money. You saved us some money. Would you like to buy them back?
The article also mentions signs that Chinese warships have begun making regular stops at Venezuelan ports, and there may even be reconnaissance vessels in the area. Although China has not confirmed any military deployments, the presence alone has created a strategic deterrence. When US fleets patrol the Caribbean, they must consider the potential consequences of China's presence. Finally, the article boasted that China's timely support for Venezuela not only protected its resources, security, and overseas interests, but also set an example for opposing hegemony and supporting multilateralism on the global stage. For Venezuela, which had no way out, it certainly didn't misjudge its friend this time. Looking back at this boastful article now, it has turned into a perfect joke for both the Chinese Communist Party and Maduro. One can only wonder whether Maduro, now in New York, holds any further resentment towards his all-weather strategic partner. Some speculate that during his trial, Maduro might seek leniency by revealing all the bad deeds of his behind-the-scenes backer, the Chinese Communist Party, ranging from oil transactions and military assistance to various covert operations, coming clean with everything.
Do y'all think he gonna snitch? Y'all think he gonna snitch now that he's in U.S. custody? And, you know, he's afraid that he might get the death penalty like Saddam Hussein. You think he gonna snitch? Think he gonna cut a deal? Because the only thing those Chinese warships are good for now is just collecting their debt in oil that Venezuela owes them and escorting it back to China. But I think he's gonna snitch. Look at that. Like Joker said, I know the face of a squealer, and that's a squealer. That's a squealer. Oh, he gonna snitch.
At that point, Xi Jinping is likely to lose sleep over the consequences, as the all-weather strategic partner label is not something to be worn lightly. What's even more troubling for Xi Jinping is another major issue, the 2027 reunification of Taiwan plan, which may now be completely doomed. Earlier, Trump had warned that if China invaded Taiwan, he would strike Beijing to the ground. Now, through the capture of Maduro, the world can see that Trump means what he says. He is not just bluffing. Those who frequently advocate for the military unification of Taiwan and boast about how killing a few 100 million people is no big deal, such as the likes of Li Yi, should reconsider their stance. From such a close distance to Taiwan, they only dare to talk big, while Trump, from across the Atlantic, captured Maduro without hesitation. If conflict breaks out on the Taiwan Strait, will Washington hesitate? It seems that Xi Jinping's, quote, great revival dream for 2027 needs to be reconsidered, lest he becomes the next target to be captured.
Because trust me, if we really wanted to deal with Russia, we could have easily have captured Putin right then and there. But Trump is trying to respect these world leaders. You respect us, we'll respect you, because you know you really can't stop us. And I mean, right now the U.S. isn't really prepared to go to war with a first world country, but don't test the gangster, because you know if push comes to shove, then we'll just have to let the chips fall where they may. But they'd rather not. Let's get on to the next one.
In the early hours of January 3, 2026, the U.S. military launched Operation Absolute Resolve, executing precision strikes on Venezuelan capital Caracas. They successfully captured President Nicolás Maduro and his wife, bringing them to New York to face federal charges related to drug terrorism and other crimes. A video shows a special military operation against a dictatorship with a million-strong army, which paralyzed Venezuela's military system without losing a single soldier or damaging any aircraft. Maduro didn't even have time to change out of his pajamas before being captured. The scene was as thrilling as a Hollywood blockbuster, leaving the world stunned. Under Maduro's rule, Venezuela experienced a severe economic collapse, including hyperinflation and prolonged storages of basic goods. He became notorious for election manipulation, causing food shortages and human rights violations. The U.S. capture of Maduro was met with overwhelming joy from the Venezuelan public. They cried tears of happiness. Trump's bold action freed millions of Venezuelans suffering under authoritarian rule and removed a major threat to the U.S. This moment will go down in history. Venezuelans, kneeling and crying, thanked Trump and the U.S. for liberating them from Maduro's regime. Many Venezuelans began spontaneously burning Maduro statues and images. Crowds chanted for freedom. Fireworks lit up the sky, and everywhere were tears of joy. After decades of tyranny, oppression, and hunger, the people of Venezuela were finally free. This is the true will of the people. Chinese netizens commented, "If one day CCP General Secretary Xi Jinping is removed like this, celebration in China will be even more intense than in Venezuela." On Douyin, a video was posted showing the Venezuelan people celebrating Maduro's capture. The comment section, with over 11,000 comments, overwhelmingly supported the Venezuelan people. Many of them said, "There are not many artificial suns left," and asking, "When will we be able to celebrate?" Will the son of our homeland be scared by comments like this? Despite strict censorship on mainland Chinese internet platforms, topics like Maduro arrested and the US captures president alive briefly trended on Hot Search. Netizens expressed shock, with some commenting, "It was too fast, 1 hour to capture head of state," and "Anyone who befriends the Chinese Communist Party is doomed." Many also used the moment to hint at domestic politics. Who will be next? Some joked that Maduro had boasted about using the Huawei phone given to him by Xi Jinping, and that the phone played a significant role in his capture. The blogger named Tianrui analyzed the situation, saying that the speed of Maduro's capture shows the US had full knowledge of his movements and acted swiftly. This event, he added, sent a strong message to dictators around the world, particularly to China and Xi Jinping. It is likely that the US now possesses extensive intelligence on these dictators. The fall of Venezuela's dictatorial regime has far-reaching geopolitical implications, including for China's authoritarian regime. Many Chinese political analysts point out that for China, at least 4 major propaganda narratives are facing serious challenges: the stability of the dictatorship, internal social contradictions, the global multipolarity agenda, and the narrative of national sovereignty. The immediate impact of Maduro's capture is that China's long-promoted model of dictatorship, its so-called system advantages, is now facing collective failure. Famous Japanese media figure Akio Yaita posted on X, saying, "This sends a clear message to the world. When the democratic camp is truly determined, authoritarian regimes are not invincible. The psychological impact on Beijing, Moscow, and Pyongyang is far greater than any official statement." Prominent Chinese scholar Wen Guangzhong stated that the event was a major shock, making the Chinese Communist Party leadership deeply feel the strength of US military power. Whether China will adjust its stance toward the US in the future is something to watch closely. Chinese political commentator Cai Shenkun said that for the Chinese leadership and Russian President Vladimir Putin, this event serves as a serious wake-up call. While they may strongly condemn it on the surface, they will privately assess their own situation and will not underestimate Trump's influence. Tsai raised the question, if Trump had been in office, would Putin have dared to invade Ukraine? During his 2024 election campaign, Trump warned Xi Jinping that if he dared to invade Taiwan, Beijing would be bombed. Tsai Shenkun believes that at least for now, the Taiwan Strait conflict is largely resolved, and the possibility of military unification with Taiwan is off the table. Maduro's arrest sends another important message, making the Chinese realize the crucial role of external intervention in regime change. The Chinese Communist Party has long promoted the idea that political changes are primarily driven by internal social conflicts. Tsai Shenkun points out that the CCP originally believed that through pressure and containment, internal opposition forces would be forced out. However, in highly centralized states, relying on military and police for stability makes it extremely difficult to trigger mass resistance. Previously, Venezuela had not experienced large-scale street protests like Iran had. Trump appeared to maintain friendly relations with the CCP, but his recent precision strikes against global proxies, such as Iran and Venezuela, have directly shattered the CCP's so-called Community of Shared Future for Mankind. Not long ago, China and Venezuela had reiterated their desire to strengthen cooperation in a multipolar world. On January 2nd, Maduro posted videos and photos on Instagram of a meeting with the CCP delegation, calling it a pleasant meeting with Xi Jinping's envoy Qiu Xiaoqi. He emphasized, Venezuela and China share a brotherly bond, and both sides reaffirmed their strong ties. NBC reported that if the CCP's meeting with Maduro was meant to send a message to Washington, it clearly failed. Trump's capture of Maduro sent the CCP a clear signal that the Western Hemisphere is not their turf. On January 3rd, Trump said at Mar-a-Lago that after Maduro's arrest, the U.S. would temporarily take control of Venezuela until a safe and smooth transition of power is achieved. Cai Shinkun commented that Trump's actions were decisive, never just empty rhetoric. Quietly, he weakened the CCP's peripheral forces and cleared his global puppets, making Xi Jinping's dream of multipolarity utterly collapse. He believes these proxies, which have long been anti-American, have caused the U.S. many problems, such as Venezuela's massive drug and illegal immigration exports. With the Venezuelan issue solved, South American anti-American forces are likely to quiet down. If Trump handles the issues with Iran and North Korea, the global political landscape will likely return to being led by the U.S. Cai Shinkun also pointed out that Trump sent a clear warning to those close alliances between China and Russia. The U.S. has not lost its global management ability, and they should not be overly arrogant. Wen Guangzhong noted that the U.S. and China have fundamentally opposing worldviews. The CCP's Community of Shared Future for Mankind is a pure deception, full of illogical contradictions, and almost no one believes it. The CCP suppresses democracy and freedom with its party-state system, going against the historical trend, which will only isolate it more internationally. Experts also believe that the U.S. will strike a severe blow to the CCP's long-abused sovereignty narrative. The CCP's specific interpretation of sovereignty has become a core tool for internal suppression and external order building, including slogans like sovereignty over human rights and maintaining national sovereignty. The CCP's military exercises around Taiwan at the end of the year were done under the name of defending sovereignty. In response to the U.S. capturing Maduro, the CCP's foreign ministry once again raised the sovereignty argument on the evening of January 3rd. They accused the U.S. of violating international law and demanding that it stop infringing on the sovereignty and security of other nations. Akio Yaita commented on X, saying that if the international community continues to prioritize non-interference in internal affairs, it essentially enables dictators to oppress their people and create chaos in the name of sovereignty. When evil forces use systems, laws, and information warfare as weapons, responding only with moral preaching is nothing more than self-deception. Democracy leader Wei Jingsheng pointed out that so-called international law is only a reference, lacking authority granted by the people or nations, and has no enforcement mechanism. It's merely a non-governmental organization established by idealists, and many mistakenly believe that it is real law.
Can we laugh at this was him voting? This was him voting. And he lost in a landslide. And then threatened to, not threatened, was trying to exterminate the rightful female president of Venezuela. The one, if you watch the beginning of, my intro, that's why she's at the beginning. She's the rightful president of Venezuela. And in all honesty, Rubio and Trump, they need to sit down and talk with her and give her some assurances, some guarantees. This is why you actually do need some boots on the ground. Unfortunately, you do need boots on the ground in Venezuela to ensure that she's able to take over her rightful presidency, her rightful seat. You have to find that general and his subordinates, and you have to capture or exterminate them. Because they're not going to let her get away with it. Also, anyone that's loyal to this bastard. Capture or exterminate. So that once you feel that you've done the job well enough to where she can rule, I'm sorry, her name escapes me, where she can rule, finally implement her regime, You can call it a puppet government, but she's the rightful president, not him. Put her in place, give her protections, at least for a good, 6 months to a year? You've got his loyalists, you've got Chinese loyalists, you've got Iranian loyalists and Russian loyalists to this scumbag. You got to clean these people out. You got to get them to where they're like 9-to-5 workers who can't do anything against her. You got to chase them out. Smoke them out, burn them out, chase them out. And see what she can do. Give her some help. She should have the US's back. But we're not going to actually take over, but we will help you with the transition. That's what they really should do. And Marco Rubio kind of alluded to that. He said, well, we're not going to actually be running Venezuela. Because he knows, they have a president. It's just not him.
It's merely a non-governmental organization established by idealists, and many mistakenly believe that it is real law. Tsai Ing-wen noted that the United Nations principle of non-interference in internal affairs and peaceful coexistence may seem fair on the surface, but in reality it is harmful. It gives dictators a free pass to suppress their own people and export wars without intervention. The United Nations has become completely paralyzed, merely papering over issues. If the US does not act, no one can stop dictators. They rule from the moment they come to power until their death, creating chaos and war. Tsai Ing-wen emphasized,
Wait, and you know what? This is what killed me. See, this is what killed me about, you have these foreign entities or whatnot talking about some, we need to get the UN involved to stop the US. Chick, we are the UN. We are the UN. We just finally got y'all to start kicking in at least 5% for your own national defense. You didn't even want to do, you weren't even doing that. You were relying 100%, practically 98%, relying on us. I mean, it was a problem getting some of you to kick in 5%. 5%. 5%. You were fighting that. You didn't even want to pay 10% on tariffs or your equal share on tariffs. You greedy bastards. We should get the UN to do something about the United States. What do you what do you want us to do against us? Because the collective of you can't, if all of y'all decided to jump us, that would be like camp counselors against Jason Voorhees. Did we get him? Did we get him? Let me see. Test the body. Take off the mask. You kidding me? You're no threat. Why is the UN doing anything?
is that Venezuela has the world's largest oil reserves, yet it has allowed its people to struggle to maintain even basic living standards. This corrupt dictatorship, disguised as socialism, has brought immense suffering to the people. The US must fulfill its special role as the world's police. Recently, foreign media interviewed 3 mainland Chinese individuals from different backgrounds: judiciary, the political system, and ordinary citizens. Despite their differing identities, all expressed strong shock, excitement, and hope. The fall of Maduro was not only a victory for the Venezuelan people, but also showed many Chinese that dictatorships are not invincible, leading them to hope that the CCP will follow suit. A judicial insider, speaking under the pseudonym Yang Ming, learned about the event through a VPN. He described himself as completely shocked. He said, "To capture a president in just over an hour is unbelievable. This demonstrates the Trump administration's determination and efficiency. Once a target is locked in, there's no dragging feet, just swift action." Yang Ming pointed out that in recent years, the political situation of the CCP's old friends have been unstable. From last year's September 3rd military parade to coups in Nepal and certain Southeast Asian countries, to protests in Iran escalating in early 2026, and now Venezuela's shift, these countries all have close ties to the CCP. The fall of each ally has been a source of great satisfaction. Yang Ming said, "This good news keeps coming, showing that the authoritarian alliance is disintegrating." On domestic affairs, Yang Ming mentioned that security was exceptionally tight on New Year's Eve, and highway toll exemptions were even cancelled during the holiday. He believes this reflects the authorities' extreme vigilance against potential instability. He said, with less movement and fewer opportunities for gathering, this also reveals their unease. Many people, including colleagues around me, are privately discussing, will the CCP be next in 2026? Everyone holds great hope, expecting to witness its downfall. He stressed that Maduro's regime, disguised as socialist,
Look at this. I mean, they were not lying when they said the people eating out of the garbage. This is what your little liberals, your little Democrats, democratic socialists, your Mondamis and whatnot, this is what they want. This is what socialism brings you. This is what democratic socialism brings you.
has caused its people to struggle to survive, despite being a major oil-producing nation. The corrupt dictatorship's collapse serves as a warning to the CCP. He said, "The US took action. The role of the world's police must be assumed, or dictators will run wild." An insider of the political system, speaking under the pseudonym Zhao Yi, couldn't hide his excitement during an interview. He said, "When I heard the news, I was thrilled. No one wants to live under the shadow of dictatorship. Maduro's capture is not just a victory for the Venezuelan people, but for the whole world. It proves the effectiveness of external intervention." From a military and power perspective, Zhao Yi analyzed that Trump set a modern precedent with catching the thief by capturing the leader first. Zhao said, "Without large-scale ground battles, without sacrificing countless soldiers and civilians, he ended a potential long-term conflict with precision. It reflects the wisdom of an ancient Chinese saying, but in a more civilized and efficient manner. Trump is truly a great leader." He revealed that while the news was partially blocked, state media has reported it quietly, unable to fully cover it up. Zhao Yi said, "Many in the system are discussing it privately, and high-level officials are probably urgently studying how to prevent similar decapitation strikes.
They're
They're
panicking.
definitely in meetings, assessing the safety of top leaders. But this also shows everyone that dictators are not untouchable." Zhao Yi estimates that the vast majority of Chinese people would be happy about similar events. He said, "People are tired of oppressive rule, economic decline, and propaganda lies. If dictatorship can end peacefully without sacrificing the interests of ordinary people, that would be the best outcome. The Maduro incident gives us hope." An ordinary citizen from mainland China, speaking under the pseudonym Li Hao, expressed his excitement after watching related videos on social media. He said, "Good news, I'm so excited. Venezuela is finally liberated. The people are celebrating nationwide. When Maduro and his wife were captured alive, it was such a satisfying moment. When will we, the Chinese, be liberated like this?" Li Hao lamented the domestic situation. He said, "The people no longer want to live under CCP rule. The economy is depressed. We can't afford anything. Unemployment is severe, and everyone's poor. But the authorities are still making things worse, selling resources, suppressing dissent, and exporting chaos. The CCP will eventually self-destruct. It's hated by the people, and no one truly supports it." He especially
Yeah, I mean, in all honesty, one of the main reasons why China didn't want to do the tariff deal was because they knew it would practically cripple their economy over time. They would be losing billions, if not trillions. But they would definitely be losing billions. Jackie Chan is pro-communist. Well, where does he live right now? Because if he lives in the Hollywood Hills, then bruh, you can hockey socky yourself back home. Let me stop. No, but yeah, they didn't want to do that. And when we had that tariff war with them, as y'all saw, because I did the videos last year from the same channel, they showed all of the factories, the empty factories. They were talking about how factory owners, they were absconding in the middle of the night because they owed their he can stay there. How they owe their employees wages because they get paid like once a month, which is like $328 as far as in US money. You know, we dwarfed them. But yeah, they were the factory owners were absconding in the night. They were fleeing because they didn't have the money to pay their employees and they couldn't keep the factories open. And do understand that China is just like what Mamdani and the chick out in Portland, Oregon, in Brandon Johnson, and Gavin Newsom, and Michelle Wu. Okay, they want for the government to own the means of production. Because in China, it's a 50-50 split. The government owns half your business. I mean, think about it. You go to get a deli sandwich and they just bite half of it and here you go. But you pay full price. You get a coffee, they drink half of it. Here you go. You pay full price. That's the CCP. Who's that? The loser on the internet? The one that supports communism and terrorists and all that stuff. Cenk Uygur's nephew. The TYT dude's nephew. I can picture him, but I can't think of his name right now. But he's pro-communist, all of this stuff. He went over to China. Soon as he hit, it's crazy as hell. Soon as he hit the street, soon as he stepped out of the airport, they snatched him up and took him to a back room. What are you doing here? What are you filming? Went through all of his equipment. The one that shocked this dog, I cannot think of his name. I can picture his face. I can't think of his name. Which, by the way, is funny. After he shocked this dog, his audience dipped. They said his audience dipped down to back to 2012 levels. I cannot think of that goofy's name. But at any rate, yeah, they snatched him up. Went through his stuff. Next thing you know, he was talking they let him go live, but he could only go live in designated areas, which when they have tourists who like to do all that, that IRL in real life streaming and everything, they tell them they can only do this in designated areas, and you must speak highly of China and these designated areas. Pretty much their tourist attraction spot. Do not go outside of these zones, or else you have dishonored my family. Do you understand? But he's so pro-communism and socialism. And then he got a taste of what it's really like. And he didn't like it at all. He couldn't wait to get the heck up out of there.
Pointed out that Maduro's regime had long been accused of drug trafficking and corruption, leading to the collapse of the country, yet Maduro held power for life. Lee said, "Isn't this just a mirror image of the CCP? If the people of Iran and Venezuela can bravely take to the streets to protest, why can't we Chinese? As long as we unite, the CCP's demise is not far off." Li Hao called for more people to wake up. Maduro's capture proves that the US will not stand by while dictators wreak havoc on the world. External forces, combined with internal awakening, can drive change. We can't wait. All of the interviewees agreed that this event is a huge deterrent to the CCP. It breaks the narrative of sovereignty above all and non-interference in internal affairs. It also proves that external intervention can play a key role in highly centralized countries. More importantly, it has sparked hope among the Chinese people. Dictatorship is not eternal, and the day of change may not be far off. 2026 is bound to be an extraordinary year. The shocking downfall of Venezuela, a country that was once a close ally of the CCP,
Hassan Piker, that's his name. This goofball. Sorry, this goofball. Of course, this goofball, you know, Anna, who swears up and down that she's, you know, another liberal, but yet she's still talking like a liberal. These people, man. Ooh, I stopped watching TYT years ago. But, you know, the rest of that is just, the rest of this video is fluff. I'll let it finish out. Only got a few
has
more.
made Beijing very nervous. They know that such a dramatic change in an authoritarian country is highly contagious, just like the Eastern European revolutions of the late 80s and early 90s, and the subsequent collapse of the Soviet Union. Maduro's capture is not just the liberation of the Venezuelan people. It marks the beginning of a counterattack by the global democratic camp. The CCP's end may come sooner than expected.
Yeah, because, like I said, ever since the tariffs, they've been getting bled dry, slowly bled dry. China has to do something or else they are in serious trouble. Serious trouble. I'm not kidding. All right, so I'm going to show y'all what.
4:30 in the morning. Let's go.
To me, this was probably the best video I've seen concerning all of this. The wife wakes up the husband. Hold on. Get it started at the beginning.
It's 4:30 in the morning. Let's go wake up my husband and tell him that Nicolas Maduro was captured by the United States. Capturaron a Nicolás Maduro. Capturaron a Nicolás Maduro.
Mentira.
No.
Eso jodiendo, no capturaron nada.
You're just messing with me.
¿Qué hago yo levantándote a las 5 de la mañana diciéndote esto?
Eso es mentira.
I'm sorry, I can't get it bigger. Check his phone.
Sufran, coño, que sufran. Celebrar, coño, celebrar la libertad, coño, la libertad. Gracias, Estados Unidos. Dios mío. Qué bendición.
They're gonna part crack me up.
Dímelo aquí.
Te dije.
Ahora vienen los cabrones estos. Ahora que vengan estos ahora. Están cagados. Cagados están.
Right there. So I'm really in this dance off. I don't blame them.
Acto criminal es lo que tienen con ellos. Lo tenían con los venezolanos. Eso es un acto criminal. Es un día emocionante. En muchos sentidos.
I bet he went to work happy. Because I'm happy. I bet the mariachi music was blasting on his way to work that day. He probably called off. But you know, at any rate. All right, so sorry. All right, y'all. So let's get out of here. They crank that soldier boy. Woo! All right, y'all. Let's get out of here. I will catch y'all later. Hopefully, I'll be a lot better now that I figured out what's actually freaking wrong with me. Well, I didn't plan on doing the whole 2 hours anyway. Y'all be safe out there. All right. I mean, no telling. In all honesty, I'm dead serious about this now. With Maduro's capture, there's no telling if, and I'm being serious now, I'm not joking. There's no telling what type of sleeper cells might be activated. Do you understand? There's no telling what type of chaos might befall us in these streets of America. That's why I say, like, you need to tool up. Professor Black Truth been telling y'all that for years. Get your power tools, or at least have one on you. Because you never know. You don't get a text in the morning like that dude just did, saying, hey, look, at 4:32 at the Kroger's on 55th and Kinsman, there's going to be a mass shooter. You never know. You never know. You have to always be prepared. You're a black man in America. Why are you walking around all Scooby Dooby Doo? That's not smart. It's not smart. All right, y'all. Get some sleep. I'll catch y'all later.
Now, gentlemen, Mr. Butler's been up north, I hear. Don't you agree with this, Mr. Butler? I think it's hard winning a war with words, gentlemen. What do you mean, sir? I mean, Mr. Hamilton, there's not a cannon factory in the whole South. What difference does that make, sir, to a gentleman? I'm afraid it's going to make a great deal of difference to a great many gentlemen, sir.
Are you hinting, Mr. Butler, that the Yankees can lick us?
No, I'm not hinting. I'm saying very plainly that the Yankees are better equipped than we. They've got factories, shipyards, coal mines, and a fleet to bottle up our harbors and starve us to death. All we've got is cotton and slaves and arrogance.
That's treachery!
A problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
Right. Hi. Thanks for the fun.
Get the fuck out!